Good afternoon, everyone. I think I'm going to get started here. My name is Barry Carr. I'm the Executive Director of Clean Communities of Central New York. And we're very happy that you've chosen to spend part of your day with us. We've had a very good turnout here. And this part of the webinar is going to be related to EV trucks in the refuse, utility, and off-road industry. First up is going to be Mark McGrew, who's the Senior Sales Manager at Lion Electric. He's going to be followed by a new presentation by Kurt Nuchens from Orange EV, who you heard on the last session, and then ending up with John Guerra, who's the Senior Director of Business Development at BYD, talking about their offerings in this program level, and that will include a video that I hope will work properly. I'm pretty sure it will. So without further ado, let's start with you, Mark, and talk about Lion Electric.
Thanks, Barry. You can head to the next slide. So thanks everyone for your time. I'm going to be spending the next 15 minutes talking about who we are and a little bit about our offerings in both the refuse and the utility space. So if you're not familiar with Lion, today we have over 300 electric vehicles in operation with more than 6 million zero-emission miles on that powertrain. Those are on our current school bus product. And we are taking that technology with the same powertrain as far as chemistry of the batteries, as well as the electric motors, and bringing them over to our truck division. Our trucks have just gone into production this quarter, and we're very excited to begin putting some real-world miles on our trucks themselves. Currently today, we manufacture out of our facility in St. Jerome, which is very close to Montreal. We have 200,000 square feet of manufacturing space, and today we can build 2,500 electric vehicles out of that facility. We also have our battery lab and R&D center in Montreal. In 2021, we will be opening up our first U.S. manufacturing facility. It's going to be a very large one with a forecast between our medium and heavy-duty trucks, along with our school buses and our shuttle buses, to be able to manufacture up to 12,250 vehicles. Lion continues to grow. I'm sure some of you have seen the recent announcements, and that's going to continue to surge. But today we have 450 employees, and we have a team of over 100 engineers and growing daily. Next slide, please. As far as our footprints throughout the U.S., on the left-hand side, you'll see what we call experience centers that we've opened already in the United States on both coasts. And as we turn the page to 2021, we're going to be opening up an additional 6 facilities. And as we go a little bit further out into 2022, we will also be opening up our own battery manufacturing plant, undetermined whether that will be in the US or in Canada. But these facilities will have trained technicians to be able to dispatch for service. We also use these as a training center, as a sales center to be able to showcase product, and potentially as, if needed, as a final stage assembly. Next slide. So quickly, I'll run you through the roadmap. Obviously, the focus being on refuse and utility, but we have a DNA dating back to 2011 as far as building school buses. Today, we are only building zero-emission vehicles, so we have no diesel legacy. Our truck division came about in March of 2019, was launched on a Class 8 straight truck platform. We have announced the refuse truck in 2020, first of which we'll start delivering in Q1 of 2021. Next slide, please. As well as the utility truck, we announced and we will start delivering at the tail end of 2021. I'll get into a little bit more depth on that. And again, this is focused on the refuse and the utility, but as you can see, we're going to be in the Class 5 through Class 8 space. We've got a total of 7 product offerings today between all of our platforms, and we're going to continue to try to fill the needs as far as what the customer demand is. Next slide. One of the key things to take away is that we are purpose-built. None of our vehicles are retrofitted diesel, so we're born to be electric. We do build all of our own cab and chassis in-house. We electrify, and then they roll off to the various manufacturers to get the body equipment mounted. Our cab is a composite-based. We use a variety of either steel or microplastics to be able to not only have the safest cab possible, but have the lightest weight cab possible, since weight is obviously a concern. All of our vehicles have the ability to regen. And I think the key thing here with purpose-built is that it's accessible. Everything goes where it belongs, not where it fits. This provides ease of access for both drivers as they do their morning walk-arounds, as well as for technicians as they go to do their preventative maintenance. Next slide. Quickly, with our DNA as far as building and manufacturing electric vehicles, these are really the 5 key steps that you should consider if you're looking to go down the path of electrification. Won't get into great depth, but we actually have divisions that support each one of these 5 steps, which certainly offline, I'd be happy to have a discussion with anyone that's interested. But at the end of the day, it's key to make sure that electric fits your operational needs. And that's one of the things that Lion has really prided itself on with our trucks, is understanding what your needs are, understanding that we can be able to allow you to finish your route without having to make operational changes. And that's going to really aid in the adoption of these electric trucks. Next slide, please. Next one. So now we'll start talking a little bit about the refuse and the utility truck. So our first vehicle to market will be the automated side load refuse. This is a Class 8. We have 2 battery pack capacities available. We have either a 252 or 336 battery pack capacity. That's the equivalent of up to 170 miles. Again, those are stated miles. As was discussed in the previous platform, there are auxiliary items that are going to take back from that overall range. But at the end of the day, we have a very good grasp as far as what those are. Some of them are listed. And I will also on the next slide talk a little bit about our bin operation. But our bin is unique in the sense that it is a full electric body. It is not a hydraulic body, and we need about 45 kilowatts a day to operate that. And then again, you've got AC, heat, and other 24-volt items. Now that will draw back from the range, but there's still plenty of range in the refuse space to be able to get the job done over what we consider to be a normal 10-hour day, and anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200 cans per day. Next slide, please. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit about here. One of the reasons that we've chosen to go with an electric body versus a hydraulic body is obviously not just the reduced maintenance cost that you get from not having hydraulics on the vehicle, but it's also the energy consumption. It takes about 2 times more power for that body to be operated from the high voltage batteries than it does with a integrated solution for an electric refuse body. What that means at the end of the day is that we can get the job done over the course of a 10-hour day without needing a recharge. The hydraulic bodies today typically tend to draw more amount of power, and that reduces the overall range. Because remember, not only do we have to move the vehicle forward with the battery packs that we offer, but we also have to handle all of the auxiliaries, AC, heat, etc. So our solution today, as I mentioned, is for 10 hours and up to 1,200 cans per day. It's integrated with no hydraulic fluids or pumps. There are actually 5 electric motors and gearboxes to manage the arm functions, the auger function, as well as the direct eject. And we're about 2,500 pounds less than your traditional hydraulic body. Next slide. Coming in 2021, as far as other refuse operations, as not all of you in New York will have the automated routes. There's a lot of rear load routes. We will have a rear load with an electric body as well. And we also have already sold, and we will be delivering in 2021, a roll-off truck on our Class 8 platform. But again, this is a staple within the refuse industry as well. And it will be available with either a hook or a hoist body. Anticipate seeing those on the road in 2021. The only one not mentioned here is going to be the front end loader. We are working on a solution, but again, we really want to try to have an electrified body. And right now, we don't have that solution. I anticipate that being more than likely 2022. Next slide. Sorry, Barry. Switching gears and looking at the all-electric bucket truck, outside of the refuse vocation, I'd say the second most amount of interest has been coming from government entities as well as the larger utilities when it comes to the aerial units. The Line 8 bucket truck will be a tandem axle, so it is going to be a larger truck than perhaps the industry is used to. Typically, you'll see a Class 7 single axle in this application. We will have a 252 or 336 battery pack capacity available. Again, similar in range and functionality. In this particular case, the bucket operation will typically consume around 27 kilowatts out of that available pack per day. This will be an option that will have an ePTO to run the function, so it will still have a hydraulic hoses running up the aerial, but it will be functioned through an ePTO, which is extremely efficient. Today, on the next slide, actually, please, Barry. The options that are available today for this truck are going to be material handlers, which are your typical units you'd see a utility working on power lines. With the government entities, a lot of municipalities will use this for tree trimming or changing out street lights. We have specifications available for both of those today, and we're taking orders on those today. Coming soon, we will be working on specifications for the cable placers, digger derricks, as well as the cable handlers. And that would be on both the Class 8 as well as our medium duty platform, Class 6. Next slide. The last thing that I'd like to mention that we are really trying to do different than other OEMs is provide support at every step. And ultimately what that means is that we have a dedicated team for each of these little bubbles. We have a grant team to help find and secure and help with writing grants. We now have a Lion Energy team to help figure out what type of infrastructure is needed. Infrastructure can be complicated, but it doesn't need to be. And we've got industry experts that can help figure out what's best for your application. We have a team of dedicated trainers to be able to train your mechanics, drivers, and fleet staff. 24 hours, 24/7 service. Bright Squad is who will be located out of our experience centers. And we also have a purpose-designed EV telematics system to make sure that you are tracking all the necessary data from charge times to number of kilowatts to kilowatts per mile. So at the end of the day, we're really looking for a turnkey solution. And I think that's what makes Lion the leader in this space for electrification. And I believe that's it, Barry. Contact information is below. Please be able to reach out if you have any questions or you want to go into any more depth on our refuse or utility line of vehicles. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Mark. That's a great presentation. And don't forget to stick around to the end of the session when we have the Q&A. Next up is returning is Kurt Nugent from Orange EV. And Kurt, take it away.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it again. And the little different presentation than earlier. We didn't know where we fit exactly, so we wanted to make sure that we didn't miss customers who wanted to see our terminal truck discussion. We're both a Class 8 and a off-road vehicle, and we're on-road or off-road, so we didn't really fit in. So I want to take you through Orange EV. For those of you who haven't seen it, this is about us, but it also has a little bit more information about how you go through the steps of actually getting them implemented. So something new for those who saw my last presentation. Again, we're very proud of our safer, more reliable, and lower cost vehicles. And by lower cost, we mean lower total cost. and that savings happens very quickly. Next slide, please. Just a quick overview that you've seen before, but just a first start. We build Class 8 trucks. They're yard hustlers. They move shipping containers or semi-trailers around a shipping yard. 81,000 pounds gross vehicle weight, up to 25 miles an hour, up to 24/7 operation. We have customers in rail, manufacturing, distribution, and agriculture, and also waste. We're both on-road and off-road, and we've been in business since 2012 and delivering production trucks since 2015. Go ahead, please. So what are some of the common questions that people ask when they're thinking about electric? You know, what is real? What's in production? What works? Is the EV's uptime really better than diesels? It's a question that's out there a lot. How long can trucks work on a single charge? How long does it take to charge? How quick is the payback for going to electric versus a diesel alternative? Can my techs maintain the trucks? And how do I know if EVs are being used and saving the company money or the entity money? And, you know, I would just encourage everyone to realize that, you know, Orange EV right now is in the enviable position, of both higher quality and lower cost. That doesn't happen very much in any industry. And so that's what's really exciting about electric vehicles right now, and we can show that in spades for our electric trucks. Next slide, please. We have over 250 trucks in service right now. There's our map. Again, we've been running for a long time. We have over 665,000 hours and over 2.1 million miles at 3 miles an hour. Some of our customers. So I showed this before, so let me go through it real quick. But it is in production. It works. It is real. These are not something on vaporware or you know, something that's being shown that doesn't work. We've got customers with over 660,000 hours of usage. Go on to the next slide, please. Is the EV's uptime really better than diesels? And the answer to that is, at least in our case, it is. You should not need more trucks when you're switching to EV, and you do need to properly configure the size of the EV solution, and we'll help you with that. So we really take we work with you to get your data on how you use your current trucks, how much energy you use, how long you run them a day, and how fast you're running. And then we size our battery pack and the speed of charging to match that with the most economical solution that we can find for you. And so it really depends on how you use them and how you recharge them. But as I showed in the previous presentation, one of our customers, Firefly, which is a 3PL, put together a package for their customer, Kraft Heinz, and they replaced 5 diesel trucks with 3 of our electric trucks. Part of that is uptime. Part of that is that they are aggressive and manage their team very well, and understood the work of what was going on, and wanted to make sure they gave their customer the best price possible. So it's not all our trucks, but it was definitely a significant portion of you'll ask them, they'll say, because our truck uptime is better and because our service is better than they've experienced with the diesels, they were able to reduce the number of trucks. So our trucks last well through the shift on single charge, but that's not how you use them. We think of it differently. We think about fueling and recharging a little bit differently. Just like, well, in contrast to personal vehicles with public charging, you might have a situation where you have to charge at night and then go, you know, through your whole route all day long and then come back home. But in our situation, with terminal truck situation, you're really in the lot all the time. So when a driver goes to lunch, when a driver goes on break to go to the bathroom, when there's a shift change, you can plug that truck in, and it helps the batteries live longer over not just the day, but the life of the vehicle. So you want that with the battery selection we've made, you want that battery charged whenever you can. That makes the batteries last longer. So we really want you to use opportunity charging. It's not a requirement, it's just a benefit. And so if we can get that to happen, we can again reduce your upfront costs. Next slide, please. So how long can a truck work on a single charge? These are some examples. One thing to be careful of when you're looking at here, there are at the bottom of the line underneath the different areas, there's either extended duty or a standard duty mentioned there. So that standard duty is our 80 kilowatt hour pack, and the extended duty is 160 kilowatt hour pack. So you can see that with an extended duty, with a 3PL global distribution, running at moderate speeds, call it 15 to 18 miles an hour, they can go more than a day without recharging. Now, again, even in that case, we'd want them to recharge whenever they're on break in order to keep the life of the battery as long as possible. On the other hand, if you go to the other end of the spectrum, we've got customers, rail customers, who really run hard and frankly overload the trucks and doing 20, 25 mile an hour plus. And if they did not charge during the shift, if they didn't plug in at all during the whole shift, it'd be around 11 hours in some cases. And that's with heat, discussions in the winter and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of a worst case situation. Now, if they charge for a half hour for lunch and this is a 12-hour shift, they have a couple other opportunities to charge. They could extend that to almost 15 hours because they're charging. If we put in a fast charger, they can charge fast enough so they can get 24 hours into kind of the day. So this is without any opportunity charging. So really long periods, not anything to worry about. We can match any shift size. It's a matter of how do we reduce the cost of the upfront cost as much as possible for your operations. So operating hours on a single charge, that's the 2018 averages. And then shift coverage are greater. As I mentioned, this is without opportunity charging. And what's really nice about the trucks is they're on location in this application. And if you get down to 12%, they go into limp mode and you go a little slower. You can only go 8 miles an hour. You can still pull the same load. Your operator knows, oh, I've got to plug this in. He's got another 10% to do that with and make sure he gets it charged. Next slide, please. So how long does it take to charge? Now, think of the charging as like a gas tank, but you can plug it in at any time. So SOC is state of charge. And of course, that time depends on how much needs to be charged, how much of the battery you've used up to the point in time, and how fast your charging is. So we have both 22 kilowatt charging and 70 kilowatt charging. And so if you've got a 160 kilowatt hour pack, which is our extended duty pack, and you have to fill that completely up with a 70 kilowatt hour charger, it can be just around 2 hours, a little over maybe. And but if you've only used a quarter of the pack, by the time you go plug in, it can be a half hour. So it very much depends on how much you've used. But we help you size that charger to your needs, again, helping make sure that you reduce your costs as much as possible or limit your costs as much as possible. And then we provide the information to your electrician to set up the infrastructure in the building, but we provide the charger itself. So you are literally just connecting AC power into our chargers. Next slide, please. So this is how quick is the payback. And so if you look at this, the pricing here, it's a lot on the slide. Pricing for the trucks, depending on which truck you buy from us, whether it's a standard duty or extended duty, whether it's a reman or an all new, they can range anywhere from $199,000 to $284,000. That's without incentives. That's just list price. And then there's a cost for the charging equipment. And then, of course, there's some infrastructure for yourselves. And then there's taxes and transports and things like that. On the other side of that, there's operational savings. And this is up to $60,000 per year per truck. and that's for a 3-shift operation. If it's a 2-shift operation, we'd see more around $40,000 up to $40,000 per year. That's made up of hard savings of fuel, maintenance and repair savings, and emission control savings. And then there's soft savings on there that we don't count in that up to $60,000 per year per truck. And that's the health improvements, the productivity gains, the quiet truck, the smoothness, the ability to work safely and not being worn down by a truck that vibrates and has loud noises and is hot inside. So we see a payback anywhere from 1 to 4 years, typical, depending on the usage and the build. And then actually we see immediate with incentives. That graph just kind of shows the electrics cost more at the beginning, but over the life of the truck, the operational costs are so much less that it pays back very quickly. Next slide, please. So just some backup information. I went through this earlier, but some backup information on this. On the operational costs, this was a case study that Bolthouse Farms did on their own. We weren't aware of it while they were doing it. They bought a couple of our trucks back in 2017 and compared those to the diesels that they had purchased. And so we'll go on to the next slide, please. And they brought this out in a press release on their own, again, without us. Really was for the state of California. It was really one of these type of educational formats. And they brought this out and publicly stated that our Orange EV, or their Orange EV electric terminal trucks, had a 75% decrease in downtime over the 2-year period as compared to their diesel counterparts. They ran these trucks for 2 years before they released their findings. And the diesel vehicles needed about 522 hours in the shop, while Orange EV electric vehicles only need 134 hours. And there was an 80% reduction in maintenance costs. So the comparisons were $3.93 per hour versus 78 cents per hour. So we're pretty proud of that, but it also, I think it backs up what we've been saying, and it's independent, and it's one of our customers, and they keep buying more trucks from us. So we're very happy to be working with them. That Bolthouse Farms, I love their carrot juice too. Next slide, please. So can my techs maintain the trucks? Really, yes, maintenance is pretty simple. In fact, typically you don't need a full-blown tech to do it. So we eliminate the engine, the transmission, the radiator, the diesel fueling, the exhaust systems, the PTOs, all that stuff goes away. We replace that with maintenance-free motors, maintenance-free power, battery systems, no radiator, so it's air-cooled. So what you end up with is over on the right here. You need to maintain air filters, you need to maintain hydraulic filter, you do functional checks, and you do grease zerk maintenance. So all on these trucks, they have grease zerks around the trucks. We actually offer a auto luber, so you don't even have to do the grease zerks if you don't want to. So we can put that on the truck factory built. Next slide, please. How do I know if my EVs are being used and saving money? So telematics system that we have provides graphs and information shown on the left there. So that graph is a state of charge graph. So you see the truck being used, and as the line goes down, they're using it. As the line goes up, it's being charged. And you can see that they've been going on and off, and you see the value of that truck as it goes through its week of use. And then on the right-hand side, you can see operational scorecard. So we pull down the actual use of energy that you had, the number of kilowatts you used, how many hours you ran. We give you kilowatt per hour. We compare that to what you would use for diesel. And this gives you emissions information. So it gives you cost and emissions improvements for your truck. And so you can get data right from our system to show you what you're saving and how much trucks are being used and how much are being used every day. And you can use a couple different formats. You can go back to just the raw data on the left, or we can put the reports together for you. Next slide, please. So steps to successfully deploy heavy duty electric vehicles. Call Orange EV, that's our first step, and then complete our Savvy form. So that's our site information gathering form so we understand your operations better. Then we'll spec and quote a unit matching your needs. Then we'll help you with a business case, and we have a TCO, total cost of ownership model that will show you an initial indication for what we understand, but you can change those numbers yourself. We'll help you educate your team with our materials, and then also if you need a demo, we can provide demos at your site for up to a week. And then you just say go, and we will deploy, build and deploy. When we deliver the trucks, we train your team, and so we have a half day to a full day training. And then after you've used the truck for a month or two, I'm sure you'll be calling us back and asking for more, like our other customers do. Right now, we have over 80 fleets that are buying our trucks or using our trucks. Go ahead, next slide, please.
1 minute to go, Kurt.
All right, sorry. Some New York trucks, I did go through this in the last session, so but lots of going on in New York, and we do have the voucher available down the right-hand side. So great opportunity to buy trucks now with the voucher program, get started and really understand it. Next slide, please. We do have the 4x2 and the 6x2. So want everybody to realize that. And with the regen braking, you have 50% faster, shorter stopping distances, so safer. Lots of good value for the electrics. Next slide, please. Lots of different trucks and the custom colors. Next slide, please. And I've already mentioned the savings, but I think it's really important. This truck is cheaper or less expensive than your diesel without any incentives. Next slide, please. And that's everything for me. Please contact Sky, who's our National Service Director, and the number there, 916-500-1666. And I appreciate very much the time.
Thank you very much, Kurt. Nice job, and please stick around for the Q&A.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, next up is going to be John Guerra from BYD Trucks, and I believe we're going to start this with a video, so stay with me here. I think. Let's see. And I got it. You let me know if you can't hear it. It's thinking.
And this is the refuse video that you're planning to play, correct?
I sure hope so, John.
Is that Barry?
Yep.
Hey, how are you?
Very good, thank you. It says, oh, you know what?
That's not the right one, Barry.
Okay, then let's stop it right now. X that out. Oops. No, stop. So we want, oh, you just took it from me, didn't you, Joy? I think it's in better hands, John.
All right, John, I have it queued up if you want to say a few words before we get started.
Okay, yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Guerra, Senior Director of Business Development with BYD North America Truck Division, and I handle all business development and sales efforts for all BYD electric truck products for the U.S. and North American market. Happy to be here today to go through some of our electric truck products for refuse, utility, and off-road applications. And we'll kick this off here with a short video that we've made with some of our existing customers' refuse trucks. And these are actual trucks that are in commercial operation today out there right now working on the road. So enjoy the video.
BYD, the leader in commercial electric truck deployments, provides a full line of heavy-duty zero-emission electric trucks, including the BYD 8R Class 8 all-electric refuse chassis. The BYD 8R is a multi-purpose vocational cab and chassis that is designed to accept all major refuse body configurations, including front loader, side loader, rear loader, and roll-off. By providing a clean electric platform to build on, this allows haulers to deploy the BYD 8R chassis together with their preferred body across multiple different collection operations. When compared to other trucks, the BYD 8R has fewer moving parts, less vibration, and low heat generation, allowing the BYD 8R to deliver the highest reliability for critical operations. The third generation BYD 8R comes standard with BYD's iron phosphate battery technology, which is the safest, longest lasting, and highest reliability battery chemistry in the world. BYD's iron phosphate battery systems must pass a rigorous safety testing program, including crushing, impact, water submersion, short circuit, puncture, and more. The BYD 8R is already hard at work today, providing true zero-emission collection capabilities for local communities, while giving drivers a clean and safe work environment. BYD trucks, electric, efficient, in operation now.
That was nice.
Great. Thank you.
It looks like you took my couch there, John, but okay, we're going to go back to our presentation here.
Yeah, that New Way body really chews through couches. Let me tell you, it's pretty fun to watch.
All right. Hopefully it'll turn me off. And is this are you seeing your first slide right now?
Right there, perfect.
Okay.
I'm probably going to touch on a few points that my colleague Aaron already mentioned, just to emphasize a few things. But I'll go through this fairly quickly and then get to the good stuff, the refuse trucks and the off-road trucks. So BYD, a relatively new name in the United States. Globally, we're very well known. We have true operations all over the world. About 250,000 employees globally. Out of those employees, we have about 20,000 engineers employed around the world. That includes electrical, mechanical, chemical engineers, some very smart people working for BYD. And then in the United States, we're building out our operations to support the US market specifically. We also have plants in Canada, but in the US, we have 2 plants now. We have a battery plant to build batteries for the US market, and we also have a roughly 500,000 square foot manufacturing plant for truck assembly, including 100,000 square foot distribution center for US parts inventory and distribution. So all of the spare parts for fleets in the US will be distributed from that Lancaster DC. And then we also have now strategic locations around the US for local factory service support, where we'll have a factory service hub with engineering, technical support, parts inventory, and training. Washington State, Indianapolis, Indiana, Northern California, Southern California, and then we have a site in the New York, New Jersey metropolitan area to support the Northeast market. In addition, we're bringing dealers on board as well. So a lot of different layers of support that the end user gets through BYD. We are the largest electric vehicle manufacturer in the world. Currently, we have total commercial electric vehicles, probably close to 70,000 units in service right now. And I'm not aware of any other company that has that amount of units in service. These are trucks, buses, vehicles that are out on the road right now working every day. Financially, we're pretty stable, about 20 billion a year in revenue, and every single plant that we operate around the world is ISO 9001 certified. So we have a 9001 certified QMS at every manufacturing plant that we operate. And in fact, we actually build our own plants. So a lot of the majority of the tooling in our plants is designed and built, purpose-built by BYD. Next slide, please. Again, just a quick snapshot of our main sectors that we're involved with. Largest market by far, bottom left, passenger vehicles. Next to the right is electronics. We're a contract electronics manufacturer for large companies like Apple, Dell, Microsoft, Toshiba. We started as a battery manufacturer back in the 90s, and we started designing and manufacturing some of the first batteries for cell phones in the mid-90s. From there, we've grown to what we've become today, one of the largest battery manufacturers in the world. And our annual production capacity right now for batteries is about 60 gigawatt hours. So we're building batteries not only for BYD vehicles and electronic devices and large systems like the Skyrail shuttles, which also run on BYD batteries, but batteries for other large companies around the world. And then, of course, commercial vehicles on top. We build everything from pallet jacks for distribution centers up to a 13,000-pound lift, buses, trucks, ground support equipment for airports, mining equipment, and it's all electric, and all of the core systems are designed and manufactured, purpose-built by BYD. Next slide. Quickly here, global footprint. We have operations around the world, over 30 industrial campuses. We have about 220 million square feet of manufacturing space around the world. And just to put that into perspective, a Walmart distribution center is about 1.2 million square feet. If you've ever seen a Walmart DC, it's a pretty big facility. So 220 million square feet is about, roughly 200 Walmart distribution centers. It's a lot of square footage. Next slide. ISO 9001, all of our plants are ISO 9001 certified to ensure the highest quality standards. Next slide. And in the US, we're building our operations to support the US market and local communities. We now have about 1,000 employees in the US, and that includes everything from technicians and support personnel, administrative staff, up to engineering and manufacturing engineers, product engineers, design engineers, all based in the US to support the US market. 750 union jobs. We have a really close relationship with our union, the Sheet Metal Air Rail Transportation Union, Local 105, and we like to support the local community as best as we can. Next slide. Core competencies, batteries, of course, that's where we started. All of our trucks come with BYD batteries, and it's a BYD proprietary chemistry. Iron phosphate is the safest, longest lasting, highest reliability battery chemistry in the world, and we can back that up with real data as well as with our warranty. So when you buy a BYD truck, you get a BYD factory warranty, bumper to bumper, and that covers the entire propulsion system as well: batteries, electronics, controls, hardware, software, BYD motors, drive axles, and that entire system, that core propulsion system, the batteries, the controls, the motors, the axle, that's all designed as an integrated system. So when we build a truck, we're designing it we're not only looking at the, the material level and the component level, but the system level, and it's all designed, manufactured, assembled, and supported by BYD with a factory BYD warranty. Designing all of these different components as a system leads to high performance, high reliability, and high efficiency. Next slide. Safety tested, all of our batteries must pass the most rigorous safety testing in the world. One of the most extreme tests is that puncture test, the top center. And we drive a steel spike through the battery to make sure that it doesn't explode or spontaneously combust. That one on the right, the flame test, our batteries remain stable up to 1400 degrees Fahrenheit. So we put the batteries through all of these tests to ensure that they are safer than the alternative and perform reliably and consistently for tens of thousands of cycles. Through our accelerated lab testing, we put the batteries through extreme cycling to make sure that they last for a very long time. And of course, you get that factory warranty that that covers the batteries for an extremely long time. Next slide. Electric trucks. We now have over 13,000 electric trucks in service around the world, including the United States. We're at about 200 units, just under 200 units in service in the US right now. Next slide. Main focus for different market segments, terminal operations. So that's our electric yard tractor on the left, and then refuse collection, distribution, and logistics. Next slide. The BYD 8Y is our all-electric heavy-duty yard tractor. We are now actually going into generation 3. All of the information that I'm going to show you in this presentation is all based on our current generation, which is generation 2. Going into 2021, we'll be releasing more information on our next generation trucks. So I'd be happy to discuss with any end users about that later. But for purposes of this presentation, we cover existing trucks that are out there on the road working right now, and that would be our Gen 2. The yard tractor, this is a true heavy duty yard tractor capable of working the heaviest marine applications, marine and rail applications. It's 102,000 gross combined weight rating at 32 miles per hour. So the truck goes up to 32 miles per hour and is rated for 102,000 pounds at that speed, 32 miles per hour. We can actually go up in weight rating if we limit the speed of the truck. So depending on the application, we can even increase the weight rating for you. When we talk about range, we like to talk about the safe working range of our trucks. So a lot of OEMs, they say up to X miles or up to X hours. We actually like to give the worst case scenario for our range. So when we say this truck can operate for 12 hours, that's 12 hours of pedal time in a heavy operation. So, a 12-hour shift, you're probably not going to have 12 hours of pedal time. You might, the truck is going to be sitting in a lot of different operations. The truck's going to be sitting for quite a long period of time in some cases during that 12-hour period. But 12 hours, that's 12 hours of actual operating time, pedal time. So in a lot of cases, we're seeing up to 24, 36 hours of operation in a real environment. And then in the real heavy duty environment, such as rail or marine terminals, we're getting about 10 to 12 hours of operation. We can run a true 24/7 shift schedule with this truck. So as long as you have about 3 to 4 hours per day of opportunity charging, we can run three 8-hour shifts. And that's with our 120 kilowatt DC charge rate. So one thing that everybody's going to start hearing a lot about is CCS1. This is something that's really important to remember because CCS1 is essentially the heavy-duty charging standard right now. All of the major OEMs, such as BYD, are building all of their trucks to be meet that CCS1 charging standard, as well as all of the other third-party charging manufacturers, such as Siemens, ChargePoint, ABB. They're all building CCS1 chargers. All BYD trucks come ready to go with CCS1 charging, and you can charge on any third-party CCS1 charger. So, you know, if you like an ABB charger or a ChargePoint charger, for example, we're happy to work with you. We're agnostic when it comes to charging. We want to make it as flexible as possible for you as the end user. Next slide.
1 minute, John.
1 minute? Oh, wow. Next slide. This is our heavy-duty tractor, 105,000 pound gross combined weight. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah, let's get the refuse truck. So refuse chassis, first one went into service 2017. When we put the first truck into service, we thought that the hydraulics were going to consume more energy than they actually did. And as one of the other panelists mentioned, that EPTO is very efficient. So when we actually put the trucks out on the road, we found that the hydraulics actually consume very little energy. So we're getting about an 80+ mile safe working range with our Gen 2. Next year, we're going to Gen 3. That's going to have a much bigger battery system, and we should have no problem completing all the routes that the majority of our customers want to get through. We work with local bodybuilders, so you can use your same body, Labrie, AMREP, New Way, Heil, Curb Tender, you name it. We can put your existing body on our chassis and very low disruption to your current operations to put an electric truck into service. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. I just wanted to go to that case study, BNSF case study real quick. Yeah, so this BNSF is one of our big customers right now. They have a lot of our yard tractors in service in their rail yards. And so in a really heavy duty cycle, hauling overweight containers, they're getting 10+ hours of operating time. And that's pedal time, not a 10-hour shift with like, you know, some downtime, you know, in between. That's 10 hours of pure operating time. And they're returning to that charger with 40% stated charge after 10 hours. So easily, you know, doing the work that any other tractor can do, but zero emission, more efficient, and better performance with an electric tractor. Next slide. Another good case study with Green Waste of Palo Alto. They're doing a full route with this truck. It's over 8 hours of operation, and they return to the charger with greater than 30% state of charge. So when you're planning your operations, you always want to leave reserve on that battery. We like to leave at least a 20% reserve as reserve battery capacity. And so whenever we plan to deploy a truck, we leave that reserve on there just in case. So when we say safe working range, that also includes that reserve. Next slide. Next slide. And that's it. There are a couple bonus slides there at the end if you want to see some of our energy storage applications. Yeah, so we also build energy storage. So that's one of the things we do with our batteries: large utility scale energy storage systems, solar systems, etc. So now today we have I believe it's somewhere around 40 gigawatt hours of installed energy storage. And one important point to note there: 0 fire incidents. So we have, knock on wood, we have a 100% safety record with our batteries. Proud to say.
That's really good. But hey, I appreciate it. I think we're gonna have a separate webinar on storage systems at some point. But that's a great presentation. We want to go now to our Q&A, and I'll tell you, thank you again to all our presenters. What we don't get to, we will answer by email. Rita?
Yes, thank you, Barry, and thank you to all of our presenters today. It was absolutely wonderful. Just a few questions. This one is for Mark from Lion. How much weight can a refuse truck carry?
So again, that's going to be dependent upon application. On our automated side loads, legally, we can pack out around 8.5 tons. But based on compaction rate, we can actually get up around anywhere from 10 to 12 tons. Again,
Great.
That's going to vary state by state, but obviously with the bridge laws in New York, those are the numbers.
Great, thank you. And a question again, Mark, if you don't mind. Do you use the Dana EV platform?
Yes, Lion is using the Dana TM4 electric motor, and we also use the Dana driveline as well as the Dana rear axles. So everything that we're doing today on our trucks, we are trying to use standard industry components, and obviously that Dana TM4 motor has hundreds of millions of miles on it. It's very well proven, anticipated to be 12 to 15-year electric motor.
Great, thank you. Question for John from BYD. How many kilowatts does the BYD terminal tractor burn per hour on average?
It really, that depends on the operation. If in a marine terminal, hauling overweight containers, discharging from a ship, you're going to be consuming a lot more energy, especially because they're typically operating at higher speeds, longer distances. So I'd be happy to, whoever's asking the question, if you want to reach out to me afterwards, and we could evaluate your specific operation. But you know, for practical purposes, we can easily satisfy a 24-hour shift schedule. If you're only operating 2 shifts, we can. That's absolutely no problem. We could use a low power charger for that type of operation. 3 shifts, we want to use a high power charger to get more energy in during those opportunity charges.
Okay, and this next question is for all of the participants here. Any loss of power with a refuse truck when it's fully loaded going uphill? It seems to be a concern, especially there are some places on Long Island that are very hilly, and people are concerned with the loss of power when going up a hill when you load it. Start with you, John?
Yeah, I can take that one because we just did some extensive testing with one of our big customers in San Francisco, on the hills of San Francisco, and there's one hill that's kind of scary. It's about a 28% grade, which is sort of ridiculous. And they wanted to test on that specific hill, so we loaded it up and we went on that hill. And the driver, he's like a 25-year veteran, hauling trash in San Francisco. He was like, "Holy cow, this is better than any truck I've ever driven before in my life on this hill." And not only that, but we have a hill start assist feature. So when they stop on the hill, the brakes will automatically hold the truck until the driver presses down the accelerator pedal enough to generate motor force to start moving the truck uphill. So much better than any other conventional truck on hills by far.
Great, thank you. And Mark? Muted.
Sorry about that. Same from our end. The testing that we've done thus far has shown that we have equivalent to, if not better than, diesel-like performance, similar to the BYD vehicle. We are able to have a hill hold feature, and as I like to say, what goes up must come down. So even though you will accumulate a little bit more power in the electric motor to get the vehicle up the hill, all of these electric vehicles will obviously have the ability to regen as they go down, and you make up for a lot of that lost energy on the way down from what you used on the way up. So I'm not going to say it's a wash, but it's certainly very close.
Great, thank you. And Kurt?
No, we don't make a refuge truck, but
I know, but maybe
application. But you know, we also deal with grades and stuff, and so yeah, we match to the needs of the customer.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, gentlemen, very, very much. This was very informative, and I look forward to working with you. Back to you, Barry.
Yes,
Sure.
and I'm going to say the same thing. I want to thank all of you again, and remember that we have 6 Clean Cities coalitions here in New York State, and by all means, reach out to us, and we can help you find end users, other fleets, perhaps even funding. So I appreciate all your time. Next, this is going to be
Thank you.
switched over to Craig Jackson, and we're going to be starting up at 2:10. Thanks.